Are you winning the war within? Are you living by the Spirit, making decisions that honor God? Or are you letting the flesh win, doing whatever you feel? You need to take the flesh off the throne. Quit letting it determine your decisions.
Life is a never-ending series of tests and battles, 80-year war, and there is battle to win every single day. The best thing you can do is prepare for the future battle, because you can be sure as you are that the sun will rise, that a battle will come. Tomorrow's problems are guaranteed. But if you do not fix today's problems, you do not earn tomorrow's problem, because problems in and of themselves are a blessing. There is nothing worse than living in the eternal still, the ether of insignificance, where you have no problems. You don't have the problems, but you also do not have any innate chance. It is stagnation, which is destructive for the male soul. It's perhaps the most destructive thing. You don't want that life. You want to not live in a zoo. There's a reason why animals die when they live in a zoo. They just sit, lay around, wait to be fed, but they don't live as long as they do in the wild, because it is the problems that keep their soul alive. The fact they must avoid their predators and enemies. They have to find somebody to mate with. That is what keeps the masculine spirit alive. You must change your attitude towards problems and see them as a blessing. If you do not get to enjoy today's problems and solve them, you're going to have no problems tomorrow. And I guarantee you that life you dream of with no problems doesn't exist, because if you ever do find that life, it is torturous.
The one thing that we all have in common, black or white, rich or poor, the one thing I can guarantee you that all of us will face, male or female, is a storm. Storms are built into God's plan. And if you will follow his voice, you will get to the other side.
God created us to learn. There's only two ways to learn things, the hard way or the harder way. I think we're here to struggle and to learn. I don't think we're here to be happy. And someone goes, oh, but I want to be happy. Why? Why do you want to sit there and laugh? Like you were happy your entire childhood. It's all over now, right? You're a man. You have responsibilities. I think we're here to do important things, and important things are going to be difficult. Well, also, there's no light without dark, and there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain.
And it came to pass. No matter how fierce, no matter how devastating, no matter how terrible, no matter how many lives were lost, families were lost, it still comes to pass. I've had some tough storms, and I learned that what I have to do is be steady in the storms. Can I talk to you this morning? If your perspective doesn't change, you will misunderstand that God allowed the storm to give you an experience that nobody else ever got to have. You want an uncanny influence? Endure an uncanny storm. And this is not a time to faint. And this is not a time to give up. And this is not a time to die.
Handle the upcoming winters. Don't wish away the winters. That's called naive. Wish for the skills. Wish for the strength. Wish for the wisdom.
And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy. But as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, then I'm a vessel of God, and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider, how do I feel? I have things to do. If you want to feel happy inside of yourself, and you want to feel content, and you want to feel stable inside of yourself, you need to live true to God. You have to be a good person.
God won't give you anything you can't handle. This is not just a comforting phrase, it's a profound truth. Whatever you're facing right now, no matter how heavy it feels, no matter how impossible it seems, you have the strength within you to endure, to overcome, and to rise above it. Life has a way of testing us. It throws challenges, heartbreaks, and struggles at us that seem unbearable. There are moments when you may feel like giving up, moments when you think, why me? But in those very moments, you must remember this. God has a plan for you, and every challenge you face is part of your growth. The struggles you face are not punishments, they are lessons. They are opportunities for you to discover the depths of your strength and the power of your resilience. God sees the potential in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. He knows what you're capable of, and he allows challenges into your life to reveal that capability to you. Think about it. If everything in life were easy, how would you grow? How would you learn? How would you discover the incredible power that lies within you? It's in the tough times, the hard battles, and the darkest moments that you find your true self. Remember this. Every storm you face has a purpose. It may not make sense right now, but trust that God knows what he's doing. He's shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater. When you feel overwhelmed, when the weight of the world is on your shoulders, don't ask why it's happening to you. Instead, ask, what is God teaching me through this? Ask, how can I grow from this? Because the truth is, the challenges you face are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. You are stronger than you think. Sometimes God allows you to go through hard times so you can discover your strength. He's showing you that you can stand firm, that you can rise, and that you can overcome. Each time you face a challenge and push through it, you come out stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next step in your journey. Think about the moments in your life when you've overcome something you thought was impossible. At the time, it seemed unbearable, didn't it? But you made it through. You're still here. And if you could handle those challenges, you can handle this one too. God doesn't make mistakes. He knows what you're going through, and he knows you're strong enough to face it. Trust that he is with you every step of the way, guiding you, strengthening you, and carrying you when you feel like you can't go on. But here's the thing. You have to do your part. God provides the strength, but you have to take the steps. You have to keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible. You have to trust that the pain you're feeling today is shaping the person you'll become tomorrow. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the process. It's about believing that God has your back, even when life feels uncertain. It's about knowing that no matter how hard things get, you have the strength to face it, because God wouldn't have allowed it into your life if you couldn't handle it. Challenges don't define you. How you respond to them does. When life gets tough, you have two choices. You can let the challenges defeat you, or you can rise above them. Choose to rise. Choose to believe in yourself and the power of the God who made you. God sees the big picture. He knows the end from the beginning. He knows that what you're going through now is preparing you for something greater. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that everything you went through was necessary for your growth, your purpose, and your destiny. So don't let fear, doubt, or pain stop you. Don't let the weight of the world crush you. Remember that you are stronger than you know, and you have a God who believes in you even when you don't believe in yourself. Every obstacle is an opportunity. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every test is preparing you for a testimony. Trust the process, trust God, and trust yourself. When life feels overwhelming, turn to him. Pray for strength, for guidance, and for peace. And then take action. Take one step, then another, and keep going. Because as long as you keep moving forward, you're winning the battle. You are not alone. God is with you. He's walking beside you, carrying you when you're weak, and cheering you on when you're strong. He believes in you. He knows your potential, and he knows that you can handle whatever comes your way. So whatever you're facing right now, hold your head high, stand firm, keep fighting, keep believing, because you are stronger than you think, braver than you feel, and more capable than you realize.
The odds were stacked against me. I won anyway. Because I win.
You won because you got lucky.
Guys like you always think other people get lucky. I don't get lucky. I make my own luck. And in this case, it's bleeding you dry.
Everybody, when I was sleeping on the gym floor, right? Like, I was the underdog, and everyone, my clients were all like, "Oh, good for you. You're going after your dream." And they'd see my blanket and my pillow in the corner of the gym, and they knew I was sleeping there. And it was evident, I lived there. I didn't have a shower. I didn't have a shower to go to the YMCA. I had to go shower. That everybody was like pro me. And then people would come in, they sign up like, I'm going to support you. Right. And then within 9 months, I had hired people and I had a manager, and I pulled up, and I remember I walked in the lobby, and all the same people were like, "Ah, boss man's here. Oh, you're not too good for us now, right?" And I remember being so jarred by the experience. And I was like, you guys rooted for me. And I was like, and now I did what you said you were rooting for me to do. And that was when I realized that people want you to do well, but not better than them.
The one thing that made me who I am today is being vulnerable. It's breaking myself down to the absolute rock bottom and being able to tell people who I am. And that's how I fixed it. Literally, life created this person, me. Life created me to be this person that I was back in the day. And I had to realize, man, that's okay, man. It's not my fault. Now I gotta go back and fix this shit, though. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this isn't your fault, why you do some things you do, why you feel the way you feel. But no one's coming back to save your ass. You have to go back to where this started, wherever that place is for everybody, and have the courage to go back there and start fixing what broke you.
Mm-hmm. I'd say one of the strongest mental frames that has gotten me through my hardest times is thinking this will be the story that I will one day tell. And that means the harder it is, the bigger the dragon, the more epic the story, and by consequence, the more epic the hero. And if you think about the difference between winners and losers, winners define themselves by what they made happen, and losers define themselves by what happened to them. And the difficult part of the lonely chapter is that the Rocky cutscene lasts 90 seconds in the movie and lasts 5 years in reality. That's what's painful, is that it takes more effort to start in the beginning, and more people are right about the fact they're like, hey, you're not going to hit it big. And guess what? A month in, you're not. But they're only measuring on months. And at 6 months, you're also not going to have hit it big yet. And they're going to be like, I'm still fucking right. And at a year, you're still not going to have hit it big. And they'll still be fucking right. And every day that you haven't hit it, they're going to feel like they were right. But they're wrong, because they're measuring in days and you're measuring in decades.
Why do you do it? Why? Why get up? Why keep fighting?
You must be able to see it, Mr. Anderson. You must know it by now. You can't win. It's pointless to keep fighting. Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
Because I choose to.
The energy it requires to start doing something is way more than the energy required to continue doing the thing. And the beginning of doing anything results in the lowest amount of reward, both internal and external, than when you've been doing it for ages.
Every single person who wants to do something with their life and has done something with their life has gone through the exact chapter that you're going through. And it's the lonely chapter. It's the chapter where you don't fit in with your own friends, but you don't have the outcomes yet to fit into a new group of friends. And you're doing this thing, you're consuming content on the internet, you're doing these free tutorials online to try and figure out how to set up a podcast and where do I host this thing? And then and you're going through this and you're like, is this even worth it? Because you have no signs of success, right? But if there's anything that you can take away from what we're saying right now, is that the sign of success is the hate that you get along the way. And what you can't do is bend the knee to their hate and fit back into the conformity because it's comfortable and it's warm. Because like in the Matrix, when Trinity opens the door, when Neo's about to go take the red pill and he wants to get out of the car, she says, Neo, you've been down that road and you know exactly where it leads. And I know that's not where you want to be. And then he closes the door. Like right now, this moment that you're going through is Trinity opening the door and being like, you could go back, but then you'd have to remember exactly what the reason was that you decided not to go out to begin with, just because you listen to this podcast and you consume this content. And you're like, I can do more than this. Like, because you are starting to live in some of that hell where you look in the mirror and you're like, I can do more. And you start to see the person that you could be. And you're like, this does start to feel like hell.
But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light.
Throughout my life, I wanted to be accepted. Growing up, I lied, I fucked what I could. Be my friend, be my buddy. That weak ass shit. I found out through this path of life, who is David Goggins? Who am I? So going through I did it alone. There was no trophy on the wall, on the mantle. That trophy's in my brain. No one helped me get there. No one paid my bills. No one did for me. No one ran those miles, lost that weight, went through it. I suffered on my own and developed this man who said, it's who I am, man. a very competitive, ultra competitive dude that take it what you want, man. You start putting yourself in situations that suck, you'll find yourself.
There's 1,000 ways to say this, but listen, because I'm only going to say it once. I fought for it because no one gave it to me, because it was just me alone in the gym, me alone in the mirror, me alone in my head. No one did it for me. I worked for it, and I'm never going to let someone else take that from me.
Many people want to be exceptional, but they're afraid of being an exception. I think it's such a, it's wanting an outcome without the requirement that the outcome has. And so we can't do the same thing that everyone else approves of and then somehow get a different outcome that everyone else does. If you have a belief and you can't explain why you believe it, it's not yours, it's someone else's.
The biggest thing you have to do is shut off technology. You have to go dark. What I mean by that is you have to be quiet in your mind. Get away from people. We love being around people. We love talking. We love parties. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be unhappy sometimes, man. So you gotta go to the truth first. Who are you? Get really accountable and say, okay, who am I? What's the truth about me? Get to that dark place in your mind. Figure out, it may take months, it may take years. Figure out your purpose. Figure out what you want to be in life. And then from there, okay, I have my purpose. It may take a long time. No one knows their purpose because it's too loud.
You gonna leave his people be? Or you the one that's gonna find yourself a new plug? You know what I mean? That shit? The f*** I don't. I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick. And I'll be damned if I let you tear it down just because you don't like the way another talk.
The superpower of learning to be alone and enjoying it. Well, I think it's critical, and I do think that these times where you just think about things, just be alone and think about things, are so rare these days. And I think during those rare times is when you really get to understand what you actually believe or don't believe.
Admit it. You aren't like them. You're not even close. So I came up with this idea a couple of weeks ago called the lonely chapter. I f***ing love it. So there is a period in everybody's journey where they are so different because they've started to do new things that they no longer fit in with their old set of friends, but they're not sufficiently developed that they've gained their new set of friends. And they're unsure. Should I go back? Should I lean back into getting a bag in with the boys on a weekend? Is that the highest, way that I can live my life passion forward? Because that's what everybody else does. And all of my friends are taking the piss. Oh, not drinking again. Too good for us, are we? Not going out again this week. Oh, okay. Well, enjoy staying in home and reading. Fucking nerd. So you're going to feel the pain of being ostracized from the group of friends that you used to have. But you're stuck in this messy middle where you haven't yet worked out who you are on the other side of this. And that lonely chapter that's in the middle is something that I would say almost nobody that I've ever met who has gone from a place where they are to a place where they want to be hasn't gone through.
Most people walk around parroting other people's words for the vast majority of their lives. And so they basically act as recorders where they clicked record at one point of their life and then they click play in another time of their life. And they're just clicking record, play, record, play, record, play over and over again. And it makes sense that people feel alone and they feel like they're acting because they never say what they think. And as a result, they also sound like everyone else because they were never themselves to begin with.
I just want more. I just want more. I just want to be successful, and I want to be able to take care of the people that I love, and I want to be able to, be a service. The goal, you don't want to be comfortable. I feel like as a man, if you're comfortable, that's a bad sign. No man should ever be comfortable. I think the problem is people don't really value life. I wake up, it's a blessing to be alive. Every time I pray, I be like, thank you, God, for another day of life. Thank you, God, for another chance to get it right. People died today. And that's a sign of favor. I don't think people understand, when you wake up, you're favored.
If I can just walk one more mile after being in the worst shape of my entire life, this would change everything for me mentally going forward. From this kid who came from dirt, nothing, who couldn't read until he was a junior in high school and is now here. I walked a mile. I said, Maybe I can walk one more mile. Maybe I can walk another mile. At mile 81, my ex-wife looked at me and said, you're not going to make the time. When your mind knows it's not going to quit, and this is what I found out. This is my 40% rule. When your mind knows it's not going to quit, your body will adapt to whatever is in front of it. I ended up running 20 more miles. I did 101 miles in 19 hours and 6 minutes. And that one day changed, 19 hours. It wasn't SEAL training, it wasn't Ranger School, it wasn't Delta Force, it wasn't any of that crap I went through. It was this 19 hours and 6 minutes that forever changed my life, to know that we as human beings are capable of anything. And we don't need any special kind of parents or tools to get there. So I end you with this. Don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. Thank you very much. No one is patient. And for you to lose weight, for you to stop drinking, whatever the hell you're going through, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of time, and a lot of pitfalls, a lot of plateaus. You're going to hit so many plateaus. If you don't know how to get around that plateau, it's not going to happen fast.
Like everyone else, you want to learn the way to win, but never to accept the way to lose, to accept defeat. To learn to die is to be liberated from it. So when tomorrow comes, you must free your ambitious mind and learn the art of dying.
Every hardship that you encounter, if you reframe it as the story that you will someday tell to yourself of the person that you've become based on the dragons you've slain and the obstacles you've overcome, then I think that makes those obstacles a unique opportunity for self-improvement, because we can be grateful for these things. I think Jocko has a whole bit on this where whenever something bad happens, he says good. And I think it's a great trained response, because if something bad happens, my trained response isn't good. It's, I will tell this story someday. And so I think if you have that frame, then everything serves you. Because if something good happens, cool. If something bad happens, it'll be a story that I will someday tell. Because it assumes that you will live through it. And it assumes that you will eventually figure it out. And so then you can't lose. As long as you don't quit.
Is if right now, whoever's listening to this, if you wrote a book right now about your life and you gave it to someone, would it change their life for the better? If not, you gotta get to work. What I would tell people right now is this. There's a process to all this stuff, man. The process starts with, you gotta shut off technology. You gotta go here. So go to that dark place. I call it the dark room, where you're alone. No cell phones, no music, no TVs, no computers. You by yourself. Very few people want to be alone anymore. They want to be around noise and people, and you can't think. Be alone. Go to that dark space. In that dark space, but the first advice I would give people, man, is shut life off for a little bit. Go to a dark place in your mind and figure out what the you want to be. You don't know what you want to be because you haven't spent time, real time with yourself. And once you find that passion and that purpose, your goals, your purpose, everything will just start lining up.
The one companion that's always going to be with you is yourself. And I think the first thing we have to do is we have to get ourselves to the point where we don't necessarily need a companion. It's not ideal. But it's doable, and sometimes it beats the alternative. But sometimes we choose less than ideal companions because to us that beats the alternative of not having any companion. And the reason why we cannot face the concept of not having any companion is because we're not comfortable with ourselves as a companion.
Idea of the lonely chapter resonates so much with people because it literally is like taking the red pill. If you see this version of the world where you go, I can impact my outcomes. I can learn a thing, apply a thing, and then I change as a byproduct of doing that. As soon as you take those steps, you realize almost all of the people around you who have parts of their life that they're not happy about are kind of making a choice for it to be that way. And then you go, oh, that means that all of the things I don't like about me and I don't like about my life are my responsibility because I can change it.
So forgive me, but if you're going to create anything of value in this life, you're going to, even if it's with other people, you're going to have to be willing to be on your own for a bit, to forage on your own, to take walks alone, and then return to people, to your tribe, so to speak, and share with them what you've learned, or maybe even just show up with whatever energy shift has occurred while you were off.
If you had to create a human, what would you put them through to make them tough? It probably wouldn't be a really chill life. What would you put them through to make them patient? Well, you probably wouldn't give them things immediately. And so it's like we want these traits, but each of the traits has a price tag attached to it. And it's just like, do you want to pay the price tag to get the thing? And so I think if people reframed the period of life that they're going through as the price that they're paying out of their wallet, but the wallet is their time, it's the seconds of life that they're trading for it, then I think more people will be willing to make the trade. Because at least when I look at myself, like when I'm 80 something years old and I'm looking back at my life, I want to have these traits. But in order to have those traits, I know I have to go through these things. And I think for me, that's given me a lot of comfort in hard times.
We will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield. We will never give in, we will never give up, and we will never back down. We will never, ever surrender.
When you're built different than everybody else and you have this desire for more and this desire for achievement and this desire to win, everybody else looks at you like you're f***ed up. And they'll tell you that too. What the f- is wrong with you? Like, why can't you just relax? Why can't you just do this? Because I'm just not built that way, man. And it's sort of embracing the fact that this provides a lot of good, but there's a lot of things that you have to deal with that aren't so good.
And at that time, at mile 81, something clicked that I'll never probably be able to do again, when my mind, body, spirit, soul, everything just connected. And my mind knew I wasn't fucking around anymore. It knew I wasn't going to quit. It knew that guy was dead and buried and gone. And I was going to die out here on this Walmart for whatever reason why I was going to get through this motherfucker. I didn't give a damn. It made there was no crowds. There was no trophy at the end. I wasn't even in a race in my mind. It was nothing. And it was me against me. And I used all these different dark places to start bringing out light and just going deeper and deeper.
And so if someone says, you're not like everyone else, then you can just reframe that as like, I am exceptional. And that's not a bad thing. There's a teacher and he's got 2 classes that he teaches. And one class, he says, the only assignment for this whole semester is that you come back with a perfect clay pot. That's it. That's the assignment. The other class, he says, your objective is to make the most total quantity of clay pots, and you'll be measured by how many pots you make. And at the end of the quarter, the pots that came from the team that had to just make sheer volume, not only did they make more pots, but the quality of all of their pots was better compared to the teams that only had to make one. And it just underlines the biggest lesson that I've learned in my life, which is that volume negates luck, is that you can try to be lucky and pick the one perfect thing and try and make it. But if you don't want to try and be lucky, you can just do so much work that you will brute force your way to figuring it out. Like if you do 1,000 podcasts, you'll be pretty good at podcasts, right? But if you try to say, okay, you're brand new and all you have to do is make one perfect podcast. The problem is that you don't have the perspective from which to make a judgment to say what is good.
Never, ever give up. Don't give up. Don't allow it to happen. If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
Most people are overweight, they're distracted, they're poor, they have so few skills because it has never been easier to start a business, to make money, to get in shape. It's just also never been easier to do nothing.
You really can solve a lot of problems by getting in shape and making money. You still have problems. They're just smaller and you have more resources to handle them. The world is there for the taking for anyone who can learn from their mistakes, do what they say they were going to do, and stick with it, even if it's not sexy. What used to make a man acceptable now makes you extraordinary. The bar for winning has never been so low.
Who am I So going through I did it alone. There was no trophy on the wall, on the mantle. That trophy's in my brain.
Most people's definition of work is a negative one, which is why they abhor it, which is also why they misunderstand so many people who quote, I'll say quote here, are successful or ahead of them or whatever, is that both people, one person says the word work and the other person hears the word pain. And so the first step to like becoming more successful is understanding the language that the people who are successful are using. They're actually defining the word differently. And so whatever that thing is that you actually enjoy doing, where you lose track of time when you're in it, even if it's challenging, but usually it is challenging, right? Like it's not easy because then it's boring, right? Which is also why the uncertainty thing is so key, right? To not knowing if it's going to work or not. You are going to work though, either way. Is that the people who are quote addicted to work make it easy to be addicted to work because they do things worth doing. And I think a lot of it is coming down to making sure that you take the few precious seconds that we have to do the few things that are worth doing for the rest of your life.
The more time you spend alone with yourself, the more time that you will be able to understand who you are. When I mean understand who you are, I'm talking about without any outside interference, without any friends, without any peer pressure of wanting to be like someone else. The more time you spend alone, you're going to figure out, okay, what your purpose is. And I say that because of this. God will talk to you. You start seeking in those moments of not having any outside distractions. What happens is things become clear. Clarity sets in. And you're able to make decisions not based on what you saw that day or what you heard that day or what that person may have said to you. You're able to make decisions based on how you feel internally.
Everybody wants to hack. There is no hack, man. There's no hack.
What do you think is the biggest stumbling block that most people face with this kind of journey?
Honestly, is they have the woe is me mentality. It's too hard. Life isn't fair. These things in life are not easy for me. You look to your left and you look to your right and you start to judge yourself off other people. Like if you're a female, well, she's skinny and she doesn't work out as hard as I do. And everything starts to corrupt your mind. You start to look around too much at other people and what they're doing. And that starts to corrupt your own dialogue. We are judging ourselves against too many people. You have to judge yourself against yourself. And that's the one thing I started learning, man. This isn't a race against me and Rich Roll. This is a race against David Goggins and David Goggins alone. And once you can silence all that bullshit, all the outside interference and things that are attracting your mind to everything, you can then start to grow.
There's a quote from Jason Pargin that says, accept that all of your heroes are full of shit. Your heroes aren't gods. They're just regular people who probably got good at one thing by neglecting literally everything else.
It won't get harder. Like this is the hardest part. And so if you can just make it through this, everything else is downhill. It's not that the things that the dragons are going to slay aren't going to get bigger. They are. But you become so much more equipped to slay them back. And you have so many more allies. You have people in the stands cheering for you. You have the audience. You have all of these other things that are behind you. But at the beginning, it's just you with a stick against a bear. And arguably that fight is a harder fight to win than beating a dragon when you have a nuclear bomb and 6 nations behind you. And so it's not even like the size of the hardship. It's just also the resources